So as always, before I begin, just a reminder to grab whatever you need. So if you've got blocks, making sure they're handy, and a towel or a blanket is also really useful, just for a bit of extra padding underneath the knees. So yeah, grabbing what you need, and I'll make a start. So this evening we're going to start lying down. So just coming to lie down onto your mat when you're ready, taking the feet as wide as the mat, bringing the hands and the arms either away from the sides of the body, spreading out nice and wide, or if you prefer you can place one hand onto the belly and one hand onto the chest, just so you can begin to tune into the breath, closing down the eyes if it feels okay for you to do so. And we'll just take a couple of moments here, allowing the body to settle. And starting to turn your attention towards the breath. So with one hand on the belly and one hand on the chest, you might be able to really feel the breath moving through the body. Noticing the rise and fall of the belly, the chest rising and falling, expanding and contracting. So just noticing how the breath is, whether it's short and shallow or long and deep. Starting to follow the breath as it makes its journey in and out of the body. And then just taking a moment, seeing if there's anywhere in the body that you're holding tension. Seeing if you can soften into those spaces, using the breath. Allowing the body to fully relax. And just taking 2 more deep conscious breaths here into the belly. And when you're ready, starting to release the hands, taking the hands up and over the head, drawing the feet together, coming into a full body stretch, and then grabbing around the wrist, the left wrist with the right hand. So we're going to start to take a side stretch here, so shuffling the upper body over towards the right side, and then allowing both shoulders to drop back down to the floor. And when you're ready, starting to take the feet over to the right as well. So you should start to feel a nice stretch down the whole left side of the body. If you want to increase that stretch, then you can cross the left ankle over the right ankle. Seeing if you can keep both hips grounded and both shoulders grounded, and just breathing into this stretch through the left side. And then starting to release, bringing yourself back to center and crossing the ankles, and then grabbing the right wrist with the left hand. And again, starting to shuffle over in the other direction this time, bringing the upper body over to the left, really pressing through that right palm, and then shuffling the feet and the legs over to the left as well. And again, if you want to increase that stretch down the right side, crossing the right ankle over the left ankle. Sending the breath to wherever you're feeling this. And then when you're ready, bringing yourself back to center. Releasing the hands down to the sides. And then starting to draw the left knee in towards the chest. So grabbing around the knee or the shin. And we'll just see if we can guide this knee a little bit deeper in towards the chest. So as you inhale, backing in away slightly, making sure you're flexing through the right foot. And then as you exhale, squeezing in. Again, inhaling, backing away, and exhaling, squeezing in. One more, inhale, back away. Exhale, squeeze in. And then starting to come into half happy baby. So flexing that left foot towards the ceiling, grabbing either the back of the left thigh, the left ankle, the big toe with the first two fingers and thumb, or the outside edge of that foot. And then you might just find a little bit of movement into that left hip, maybe swaying or pressing the foot towards the ceiling, straightening out the leg slightly, and then squeezing the knee down towards the floor. Keeping the right hand on the right hip, just to encourage that right hip to stay grounded. And then starting to release. Straightening out that left leg, coming onto the other side, drawing the right knee in, grabbing around the shin or the knee, flexing through both feet, inhaling, backing away, and then exhaling, squeezing that right knee in. Again, inhale, back away. Exhale, squeeze in. Last time, inhale, back away, and exhale, squeeze in. And then coming into half happy baby on the other side, so finding whatever option works for you, back of the thigh, ankle, big toe, or outside edge of the foot. Flexing the foot towards the ceiling and drawing that knee towards the floor. Seeing if you can soften the right shoulder towards the floor. And again, you might just find a little bit of movement here, easing into that right hip as much as possible. Keeping the left leg nice and active, flexing through the toes. Taking one more breath here. And then exhaling, releasing. Straightening out that leg, maybe giving the backs of the knees a little tap out. Drawing both knees in towards the chest, give yourself a squeeze. And then bring the hands to the backs of the thighs. Start to rock yourself up to a seat. And then rolling over into tabletop position. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees hip width distance apart, spreading the fingertips nice and wide. And just coming through a few rounds of cat-cow. So as you inhale, starting to drop the belly, reaching the sitting bones high. Press the chest through the arms, start to gaze up. And then as you exhale, rounding through the shoulders, so tucking the tailbone, drawing the belly button up towards the spine, chin towards the chest, pressing into the hands, spread the shoulder blades. And then inhale, drop the belly, gaze up. Send the chest through the arms. Exhale to round. And then inhale to look up. Exhale, rounding through the shoulders, tucking the chin. And then inhaling back to a neutral spine. From here we're going to start to turn the left shin out to the left side, coming onto the toes on that left foot. And then start to straighten the right leg out towards the back of the mat, planting the sole of the foot. When you're ready, starting to open out with this right hand. So if it's okay for you to do so, we're going to take some big circles, sweeping this right arm round. Working into the mobility in the shoulder. And then maybe starting to reach the right fingertips towards the top of the mat, finding a nice stretch through the right side of the body. From here, start to spin the right toes towards the back of the mat, taking a bend into the right knee. And then we're going to start to come towards that right knee with the upper body. So you can either rest the forearm onto the inside edge of that right thigh, or maybe you can bring the fingertips down to the mat, or you can use your block. So just resting the hand wherever feels good. Either sweeping the left hand towards the ceiling, or maybe taking it up and over the head, finding more of a stretch through that right side of the body. Breathing into that, keeping the chest open, peeling that left shoulder back slightly. And then when you're ready, starting to come back. So left hand comes back down to the floor. We're spinning back onto the sole of that right foot, straightening out the leg, reaching the right hand high, and maybe finding a balance here if you'd like to add on. So start to pour the weight forwards into that left hand, maybe hover the right foot away. See if you can really flex through the toes on that right foot, activating the leg. And then releasing the right foot back to the mat, planting the right hand, and then coming back to your tabletop position. I should have said, sorry, if you've got knee issues, definitely bring some padding under the knee. So we're going to take that to the other side. I don't know if I can find a way that you'll see. Yeah, I'll go this way. So we're going to take the right shin out towards the right side. That's not going to work, I'll have to go this way. And then when you're ready, start to extend the left leg towards the back of the mat. Reach the left hand high, and then start to make those big circles with the left arm. And then on the final one, sweeping that left hand up and over the head, finding that stretch through the left side of the body. And then when you're ready, start to bring the weight into that left foot, spinning the toes towards the back of the mat, bending into the knee. Left forearm comes to the left thigh, or maybe fingertips to the block or the mat. Reaching the right hand either towards the ceiling or up and over the head. And then windmilling that right hand back down to the mat. Spinning onto the sole of that left foot, straightening out the leg. Reach the left hand high. If you want to add on that balance, start to bring the weight into the right hand. Maybe hovering the left foot away. Opening out. And then starting to release. Bring yourself back to your tabletop position. Maybe just taking a couple more rounds of cat-cow. So inhaling, dropping the belly, gazing up. And exhaling, pressing into the hands around through the shoulders, tuck the chin towards the chest. Inhale, drop the belly, gaze up, keeping the arms nice and strong. Exhaling, pressing into the hands, rounding through the shoulders. Inhaling back to a neutral spine. And then when you're ready, tucking the toes, hovering the knees away from the mat, starting to send the sitting bones high, pedaling out the feet. Coming into your downward facing dog. So as always, just spending a little bit of time here to ease into your position, swaying through the hips, pedaling out the feet, finding some movement, maybe straightening out one leg, bending into the other, and then switching. And when you're ready, coming to a little bit of stillness, so pressing forwards and down into the hands, spread the fingertips nice and wide. Energetically start to work the heels down towards the floor, but don't worry about getting them to touch. So thinking about lengthening the backs of the feet away from you. Pressing the chest towards the tops of the thighs. Equal distribution of weight between the hands and the feet. So on the next inhale, we'll pick up the right foot, sweeping it high. Coming up onto the tiptoes on the left foot, and then we're going to step this right foot all the way forward. So if you can't quite get it up there, shuffle it up with the hands, help it up if you need to, and then lower down onto the left knee. Again, if you need padding underneath that left knee, grabbing your towel or your blanket. So inhaling the arms up into your low lunge, and as you exhale, maybe sinking a little bit deeper. So here we're going to bend into the right elbow, bring the left hand to the top of that right elbow, opening out through the chest, maybe sinking a little bit deeper as you exhale. And an option, if you like, is to bind or bring the back of that left hand to the back. So pressing the back of the hand into the spine. This is going to help you to open out more through the chest, even if you can't bring the fingers to touch. So just sinking into the hips here, making sure the upper body is coming up and back. And then as you exhale, starting to release. Bring the fingertips either side of that right foot, Start to press into the toes on the left foot, picking up the knee. And then we're going to make our way into a half standing split. So bringing the fingertips a little bit further in front of that right foot. You might need to shuffle the left foot in slightly and then finding your balance. Again, you can use a block here to rest the hands onto if you can't quite reach the floor. So leveling off the lower back, really flexing through that left foot. If you want to add on here, there's the option to come into Warrior 3. So coming into a balance, bringing the hands towards the heart, reaching the chest forwards, flexing through that left foot, keeping the leg and the foot hovering away from the floor. Wherever you are, we're going to come into Utkatasana, chair pose. So starting to bend slightly into that right knee, drawing the left foot forwards, feet hip width distance apart. And then as you inhale, lifting into your chair, so sweeping the arms up, keeping a bend into the knees. Make sure you can see the toes poking out in front of the knees. And then we're going to come into a toe balance here. So start to pour the weight forwards into the front of the foot, lifting the heels any amount, and then straightening out the legs. Staying on the toes if you can, start to engage into the core. As you exhale, we're going to lower all the way down, so slowly starting to bend into the knees, keeping the core engaged, keeping the heels lifted if you can, coming as low as you can and then fingertips to the floor, straightening out the legs, planting the feet, coming into ragdoll, grabbing opposite elbows, tucking the chin towards the chest, and maybe just starting to sway out here. So you can shake out the head, yes and no, keeping a nice deep bend into the knees, letting the belly rest onto the tops of the thighs. You might like to take a cleansing breath, inhaling into the belly and exhaling through the mouth. On the next exhale, release that grip on the elbows. We're going to come into Malasana squat. So heel toeing the feet out so they're as wide as the mat, and then turning the toes out and the heels in. So options here, you can come halfway and just rest the forearms onto the tops of the thighs, or dropping all the way in. Now if the heels are lifted, you can use a block underneath the backs of the feet to support you, or if they're a little bit lifted, then using your blanket or rolling your mat up. So wherever you are, dropping into your Malasana, see if you can start to drop the tailbone towards the mat and keeping lift and length through the spine. So thinking about reaching up through the crown of the head. Opening out slightly through the chest, so if you can, palms come together and the thumbs come towards the heart center. And we're using the elbows to press the hips a little bit wider. And just breathing here. Really nice. On the next exhale, bringing the fingertips to the floor in front of you, starting to straighten out the legs, sending the sitting bones high. Turn the toes to point forwards, and maybe turn the heels out slightly, so imagining you're in a wide leg stance. And then you can just sway from side to side here. You can take a bend into the knees if you need to, just easing out. You might like to crawl the hands or the fingertips over to the right side, folding in towards that right thigh, and then coming onto the other side. Just finding a little bit of a stretch down the backs of the legs, and then coming back forwards. From here, heel toeing the feet in so they're hip width distance apart again. And we're going to lift back up through that toe stand if we can. So bring the fingertips a little bit further forwards in front of the face. Start to roll forwards onto the front of the foot, lifting the heels, bend into the knees, gaze forwards in front of you, and then reach the hands out in front. From here, really start to press into the toes, keeping the heels lifted, opening up, spreading out, and then as you exhale, dropping the feet, we're going to lower back into Utkatasana. So bending into the knees, keeping the arms lifted. chest open. And then bringing the hands to the back of the head, elbows out wide. On the next exhale, starting to fold in, so dropping the chest towards the tops of the thighs. You can start to squeeze the elbows towards each other here, really curling in, drawing the chin towards the chest. You can keep a bend into the knees or straighten out the legs. So just starting to cocoon yourself all the way in. And as you inhale, you might start to lift the chest slightly. And then exhaling, folding back in. Again, inhale, lifting slightly. Exhaling, folding in. On the next exhale, release that grip around the back of the head. As you inhale, coming into a halfway lift, so reaching the crown of the head forwards. And then from here, we're going to take a big step back with the right foot. Thinking about warrior one feet. So the right foot is turning out at a 45-degree angle, so toes turning slightly towards the long edge of the mat. Starting to take a little bend into that left knee, and then as you inhale, lifting up into your warrior one. So you can either come straight up with the arms or spend a little bit of time here to make sure the hips are square. So you can bring the first finger on the left hand into the left hip and just gently start to press that left hip back. And then the thumb or the first finger on the right hand, bringing it to the back of that right hip and think about pressing very gently forwards with that hip. So left hip coming back, right hip coming forward. As you do this, you'll notice that the right leg starts to activate more, so really pressing into the heel of that right foot. Then inhaling the arms up into your warrior one, gazing forwards or maybe towards the ceiling if that feels okay. And then from here coming into humble warrior, so hands come around the back to clasp. Squeeze the palms together with the bend into the elbows first, and then see if you can straighten out the arms. Inhaling, puffing up through the chest, and then exhaling, coming forward. So we're folding down the inside seam of that left leg. Tucking the chin towards the chest, maybe you can start to gaze back towards that right ankle. Breathing here, keeping the legs nice and strong. And on the next inhale, lifting back up. Releasing the hands, inhaling the hands up. And then exhale, bring the fingertips forwards next to that left foot. Spin onto the toes on the right foot. Coming into a runner's lunge, so chest starts to reach forwards, right leg is nice and strong. And then we're going to come into a twist here, so bringing the right hand to the mat or your block, and then starting to reach the left hand high. So again, we're going to start to make some kind of half circles here. So as you exhale, reaching that left hand as far back as you can, and then inhaling it up to the centre, so gazing up. And then exhaling it, reaching it all the way forwards. So inhale, sweeping it all the way back. Exhaling, bringing it to the center, and then reaching it forwards. One more, inhale, reach it back. Exhale to the center, and then reaching it forwards. Dropping that left hand to the mat, lowering down onto the right knee, untucking the toes, and then heel toe that left foot to the left side of the mat. So coming into lizard, we're going to stay on the hands, even if you normally come onto the forearms. Thinking about squeezing that left knee in towards the left shoulder and reaching the chest forwards. Taking 2 more breaths here. Really nice. When you're ready, tucking the toes on that right foot. Start to heel toe the left foot back to the centre of the mat. Planting the hands, press into the toes on the right foot. And when you're ready, step that left foot back to your downward facing dog. Again, just pedaling out the feet here. Maybe taking a cleansing breath, inhaling into the belly. Exhaling through the mouth. Coming on to the other side, so inhaling the left foot up towards the ceiling. Come high up onto the tiptoes on that right foot, and then start to step, drag, shuffle, whatever you need to do to bring that left foot all the way forwards. And then lowering down onto the right knee. Keeping the toes tucked, inhaling the arms up. This time bending into the left elbow, right hand comes to the top of that left elbow, opening out more through the chest. Staying here if this is enough for you. If you want to, taking that bind, so bring either the back of that right hand just to press into the back, or maybe you can bring the fingers to touch. Opening out more through the chest, exhaling, sinking into the hips. On the next exhale, release your grip. Bring the hands forwards, either side of that left foot. Press into the toes on the right foot, lift the knee. Bring the hands a little bit further forwards. Shuffle that right foot in if you need to, making your way to half standing splits. So hovering that right foot away from the floor, flexing through the foot, see if you can level off the lower back. If you want to add on, coming into warrior three, hands come to the heart, reaching the crown of the head forwards. Take a little bend into that left knee. When you're ready, we're going to step the right foot forwards, feet hip width distance apart, and then inhaling up into your Utkatasana chair pose. Nice deep bend into the knees, drawing the lower belly in, knitting the lower ribs towards each other. And then bringing the weight forwards into the front of the foot, lifting the heels. When you're ready, start to straighten out the legs. And as you exhale, keeping the heels lifted if you can, starting to lower all the way down. Bring the fingertips to the mat, release the backs of the feet to the floor, coming into ragdoll, nice deep bend into the knees, grab opposite elbows, tuck the chin towards the chest. Again, swaying out if you need to, taking a cleansing breath, doing whatever feels good to release. Inhaling into the belly, exhaling, sighing out. And then releasing that grip on the elbows, fingertips to the floor in front of you. Heel toe the feet out as wide as the mat. Again, we're going to drop back into Malasana, so finding whatever option works for you, using your props to support you. And again, if this doesn't work, then maybe just stopping here, getting used to working into the tops of the thighs. So if you want to add on this time in your Malasana, you can open out more through the chest. So we're bringing the right hand out to the right side, crawling the fingertips away from you. And maybe you can open out, reaching the left hand high. Taking a little twist to the left. Coming back to center, over to the other side, so left fingertips crawl out, right hand reaches high, gazing up. And then coming back to center, fingertips to the floor in front of you, straightening out the legs. Keeping the feet as wide as they are and then turning the heels out, toes in. So coming into this really shortened version of Prasarita wide leg stance. And we're just going to start to reach the chest forward. So again, if you need your block here, using it. Seeing if you can crawl the block or the fingertips a little bit further out in front. So pressing the hips back behind you as you reach the chest forwards. And you should feel quite an intense stretch down the backs of the legs. Drawing the shoulders back, reaching the crown of the head forwards. Engaging into the lower belly. Breathing here. And then walking the hands back in. Heel toe the feet back so they're hip width distance apart. Making your way back up through that toe squat. So gazing forwards in front of you. Rolling forwards onto the front of the foot. Lifting the heels. Reach the hands out in front. Start to press into the toes. Lifting up, a little bit of wobbling is absolutely fine. Coming all the way up, and then as you exhale, dropping the feet, Bending into the knees, coming back into Utkatasana, reaching the hands high. Hands come to the back of the head, elbows out wide, and then as you exhale, folding in. Drawing the elbows in towards each other, chin towards the chest, maybe straightening out the legs, or keeping a bend into the knees. Taking one more cleansing breath as you inhale, lifting the chest slightly, and then exhaling, folding back in. Releasing that grip on the elbows, inhaling into a halfway lift, reaching the crown of the head forwards, drawing the shoulders back. When you're ready, picking up the left foot this time, stepping it all the way back behind you, nice wide stance. Left toes turn out towards that long edge of the mat, so 45 degrees. As you take that foot back, make sure there's already a little bend into that right knee. And then pressing into the feet, lifting up, reaching the arms high. And then again, you might just take a moment to square yourself off here through the hips. So right pointing finger comes in towards the right hip, and just gently start to press that right hip back. And then either bring the left thumb or the left first finger to the back of the left hip and start to press that forwards. Then inhaling the arms up, making sure you can still see the toes poking out in front of that right knee, gazing up or in front of you. And then coming into humble warrior, so hands come around the back, press the palms together, inhale, puff up through the chest, and then as you exhale, start to fold or bow down the inside seam of that right leg. As we come down, still seeing if you can keep the hips square as they were in warrior one. On the next inhale, lifting back up. Releasing the hands, sweeping them high, and then exhale, come forwards. Spin onto the toes on that left foot, maybe shuffle it a little bit further back. Left hand comes to the inside edge of that right foot, either to the mat or the block, and then we're inhaling the right hand up. So exhaling, sweeping that right hand back behind you, gazing back. Inhale, reach it up to center, gaze up. And then exhale, reach it forwards. So inhaling, sweeping it all the way back. Exhale to center, and then reaching it forwards. One more, inhale, reach it back. Exhale to center, reach it forwards. And then coming down, dropping the left knee to the mat. Heel toe that right foot out to the right side, so bringing the hands to the inside of that right foot. Shuffle the left foot a little bit further back and tuck the toes. Keep squeezing that right knee in towards the right shoulder. If you need to be a little bit higher here, using your block or whatever you've got to rest the hands on. And again, just sending the breath to wherever you're feeling this. Really nice. When you're ready, start to heel toe that right foot back to the center. Tuck the toes on the left foot. Press into the toes. Step that right foot back, downward facing dog. Pedaling out the feet. Taking a nice deep inhale into the belly. And exhaling through the mouth. Dropping down onto the knees when you're ready. Bring the knees together, toes to touch, and then just reach the hands back behind you. Drop the forehead either to the floor or your block, and allow the shoulders to spill around the knees. Just taking a couple of breaths here in your child's pose. And then on the next inhale, start to lift the chest, rolling over to one hip, taking the legs out in front, shuffling yourself to the middle of the mat, lowering all the way down. When you arrive on your spine, drawing the knees in towards the chest, Give yourself a nice big squeeze, maybe rocking gently from side to side on the lower back, massaging out. And then when you're ready, starting to extend the legs back, long down the mat. Maybe shuffling the shoulder blades out a little bit wider, hands and arms away from the sides of the body. Closing down the eyes again, coming to rest in Shavasana. And just taking this last couple of moments to fully relax the body, letting go of the physical practice, allowing everything to soften. And just being with the breath, knowing that there's nothing else to do or achieve. Noticing any leftover tingling or pulsing, energy moving through the body. Bring your awareness to those points. Noticing how it feels. Maybe noticing those sensations start to shift or dissipate. And just taking 2 more deep conscious breaths now into the belly. So of course you can stay here in your Shavasana for a little while longer if you like. Or if you're ready to close the class, starting to bring some small movements back to the body, wiggling the fingers and the tips of the toes, making circles through the wrists and the ankles. And then coming into a full body stretch, reaching the hands up and over the head, pointing through the toes, reaching through the fingers, inhaling into the belly, holding the breath at the top, and then exhaling to release through the mouth. Bending into the knees, drawing the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a final squeeze. Maybe come into a tight ball to seal your practice, forehead to knees. And then releasing the shoulders, gently rolling to the right side of your body and coming up to a comfortable seat in your own time. Sitting on a block or a cushion, keeping the eyes closed, bringing the hands together at the heart. And just taking a moment to check in with yourself, noticing how you're feeling, noticing any calm that you've created in the body and the mind, and sending yourself some gratitude for making the time to practice today. When you're ready, rubbing the palms together, finding some heat in the hands, placing the hands over the eyes, feeling the warmth, gently blinking your eyes open and drawing the hands away. Thank you all for joining me. Have a lovely evening. Namaste.